Welcome to our first mapping tutorial. Let's call this Room 101 as we'll be building our first room for Doom 3. As you can see, I already have the editor open. If you need help on getting the editor set up and running, there are tutorials available on modsonline.com. Alright, let's begin by selecting a texture for which to draw. As you can see in our inspector, our texture inspector over here, we have no textures already loaded. So let's go over to the media section and load up some textures. Let's begin with the common texture set. The common texture set, when I double click it, will load all those into memory, and as you can see are full of more common textures or tools. We have collide, we have ladder, we have no draw, clip brushes. What we're interested in here right now is the caulk texture. The caulk texture is a neutral texture that doesn't load a lot of information into memory, so that we can save that memory for more important things in our level. Okay, we can begin by drawing out our level by left-clicking and dragging out a brush. So I want something big enough to fit a player, a light, just something to get this room going. Over in the Z window, I can stretch out the height of the potential room that I have here. And what that is a height indicator versus here we're just looking at the top side. If I hold down the Control and hit the Tab key, here you see I'm looking at the front. And you can also see that this is a little bit out of view, but if I right-click and drag that into place, I have a much better view of it. Alright, let's hit Control Tab again. You can see I have the side view. And one more time, we're back at the top because we have our three views. Okay, let's hollow this out so that we have an actual room to work with. Now, hollow is not a perfect key. As you can see, we have a lot of overlapping areas. This can end up causing errors for you later on. And since this is just our outside box, what we want to do is we want to move those brushes out of the way. So I'll hit the Escape key to deselect everything, and I'll select all these brushes excluding the top and bottom so that I can shrink that top and bottom within the area so they're not overlapping anymore. You can see what I'm doing in the Z window there. And now I'll deselect two of the opposing sides here and shrink that in so that they're not overlapping. Now we have no more overlapping brushes, and we effectively reduce whatever errors that can come of that. Now we want to texture the inside of here. Let's deselect everything so we don't accidentally texture it. We'll select some texture set. Perhaps a base floor would be good. I'll double click it to load it up. Go over to our textures, and there they are all loaded. I'll scroll down to something simple. Here's a floor texture. Now I want to select just this face. I don't need to select the entire brush. So I'll hold down the Control, the Shift, and then I'll left click that area. You can see just that face was highlighted. Now if I select that texture that we were looking at right here, the texture will show up on this one wall. Now we want to move that around to the different walls, so I'm going to show you another little trick here. If I hold down the Control key and I use the middle mouse button, you see what it did over there? It copied the texture that I had selected. So I'm going to continue doing that around the room. And I'm moving my camera around with the arrow keys. And we'll do the same for this floor and ceiling since we're just getting a first room out. Now, since I can't really see the ceiling too well, I'll use my D key to move up, and I can use my C key to move back down again. Now we have our room completely textured. Always hit that Escape key to make sure nothing else is selected, and let's get our player in there. If I right-click the grid area here, you'll see a list pop up, and this is a very important list. All our entities are in here. We want to begin with our info, player, start. In this case, regardless of whether it's a deathmatch or a single-player level, whenever you're testing your level, I find it easiest just to throw in the single-player start. Let's make sure he's within the map area. Let's bring him down to the floors. Make sure he's not sticking out, because if there are any entities in this outside voidness, that can cause a lot of errors. It'll cause what is known as a leak. It's just like having a hole in the corner over here where light effectively can leak out. Okay, we got our player in there. Let's hit Escape so we can deselect that. Let's get a light in. Light is its own entity. We will find it right here. Now that little box is actually our light. Let me hit the Control tab and move the light into one of the corners here. What this purplish blue box is our radius. That's the amount of area that is actually affected by the light. We may not actually see the light show up on the farthest area because that is what's known as a fall off. The light falls off or falls into blackness as it goes to the outside. So most of our light will be concentrated right here at the source and then fall off into the outer radius. Let's escape out of that. Now we want to save our map. File, save. Now make sure that we save this. As a setup tutorial on modsonline.com points out, we need to create this MP, multiplayer directory. We want to save in there. We'll call this one test. And now the final step here is we want to compile. We want to BSP. We want to put this map together so that the game knows what it is. So I'll click on BSP, and you'll watch down here in the console all the information that is running through. I'll quickly scroll through here and make sure there aren't any errors that showed up. Couple warnings. I'm not concerned with that. What I'm concerned about is to see a leak or something that stopped the process from actually happening. And at this point we have effectively made a map and we're ready to playtest it. So let me close this editor and I'll open up the game. Okay, one nice little feature this editor has is by hitting the F2 key, the Doom 3 game window will open and I'll be able to test my map right from here. So I'll open up the console, I hit the tilde key, and I'll type in dev map, which is my developer map run. The map that I just saved and compiled is located in game MP. The name of the map is test, and let's run it. Give it a moment to load. And here we are. Our first level. There's the light that we placed in one corner. The rest of the room is pretty black. And as you can see, this is the fall off I was talking about, how it's bright right in the center and it falls off to blackness. Alright, I hope this tutorial has been helpful for you. And enjoy mapping.